This is the solution to example 13 from notes 1.4. And we are told, we're given two equations, one for the demand and one for the supply of motorcycles. And we're asked to find the profit, P. The units are in thousands of dollars at the equilibrium point, which is when supply and demand are equal. So essentially, we're going to solve for P that makes the supply equal to the demand. And we're given equations for each. So the supply is equal to 200p minus 1160 is equal to the demand, which is 1680 over p. And what we'd like to do is put this, make this into a quadratic equation. So I'm going to multiply both sides of the equation by p. And I have to be careful that I don't get extraneous solutions when I multiply by a variable. Now I'm going to distribute p to both sides, to both of the values in the binomial, 200p minus 1160. So I'm going to have 200p squared minus 1160p is equal to 1680. I'll set one side equal to 0 by subtracting 1680 from both sides of the equation. So 200p squared minus 1160p minus 1680 equals 0. Now we'll try to divide out common factors. So it's pretty obvious that all of these values are divisible by 10. So let's do that. So that'll leave us with 20p squared minus 116p minus 168 equals 0. And all of these factors are also, we can say, they're still even, so we can divide both sides of the equation by 2. So that'll leave us with 10p squared minus 58p minus 84 equals 0. Once again, we've got all even coefficients, so let's divide both sides of the equation by 2. And if you were able to divide by a larger number earlier, that's fine. So this is going to give us 5p squared minus 29p minus 42 equals 0. And if we're lucky, this will factor. So I'm going to try to use the AC method. So AC is 5 times negative 42, which is negative 210. So I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to negative 210 but add to negative 29. And you can take a little time to think about it. You can pause the video. These two numbers turn out to be negative 35 and positive 6. Those are two numbers that multiply to negative 210 and add to negative 29. So that means I can rewrite this with 4 terms, splitting the middle term. So I'm going to have 5p squared minus 35p plus 6p minus 42 equals 0. And now we'll factor by grouping. So I'll factor the GCF out of the first two terms. So 5p times p minus 7. I'll factor the GCF from the second two terms. So it's 6 times p minus 7 equals 0. And now p minus 7 is the greatest common factor, so this factors as 5p plus 6 times p minus 7 equals 0. And now by the zero product property, we can set each one of these factors equal to 0. So by the zero product property, I can say 5p plus 6 equals 0 or p minus 7 equals 0. So 5p equals negative 6 or p equals negative 6/5 or p equals 7. So if we look back at our description, we have to see if these values make sense. So remember, P is defined as the profit in thousands of dollars. So if we have a negative value, that's really a loss, and that doesn't make sense. So we're going to disregard this. This doesn't make sense. Because this wouldn't be a profit. And in addition, another reason it doesn't make sense is demand is given as negative 1680 over P. So if P is negative, then demand is negative, and that doesn't make sense. So we're going to disregard the negative value that we found, and that means P is equal to 7. The units were thousands of dollars, so we would say the equilibrium point is when profit is $7,000. That's when supply equals demand for this particular product, which is motorcycles.